Hello, everybody. Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas. I got a new video I'm going to make tonight and show you. I think you'll find real interesting concerning the murder of a policeman's wife, a Midland policeman's wife, Chad Simpson, who we found out 4 years later was the wife of one of the secret police that was caught in my home, identified by the private investigator. This is an incredible story. I've talked about it before in other videos. My most recent video, and that's what we're looking at, is my YouTube channel here, was called The Complete Story. And I think that's probably one of the very, best overall videos that I've done, because it starts from when I moved here to Midland, tells a whole bunch of, story, this happened, that happened. And, but the one I'm going to do tonight is, about Sandra wasn't included because I just couldn't tell everything. And it was already an hour long anyway, and that's longer than what I normally do. But here, I'm going to jump over. I did a Facebook post here tonight, like I always do, like I normally do. And then I wrote these paragraphs, and then I have the evidence backing it up so I can show you so you can follow along. And I'm just going to jump right in. The top here headline: Midland policeman's wife murdered. Okay. And then I just start there on the first paragraph. On December 13, 2014, I posted this picture of an unidentified secret police who was caught on camera inside my home after the murder attempt, along with the story called Rape and Murder to my Facebook. This story was about the young girl that Angie told me about, who was murdered at the oil show party in October 2010, which had police there. It's now clear these parties were held in the underground homes near my home. Okay, so that just starts it. Okay, and here's the picture that I started it with, and then I want to show you the proof picture here. That, at the top you can see it there. 2 days after this was posted, the guy in the picture murdered his wife and killed himself. But he didn't get identified until 4 years later, okay? That's when I offered the reward for the identity of the secret police, and the Empire Private Investigations identified him in 2018, and then we didn't get the police report till 2019, and that's when it's found out his name was missing from the police report. That was one of the 6 names that was had been omitted, illegally omitted by these corrupt police, and as they were covering up this premeditated home invasion, capital attempted murder. It looks like it was police under my home that tried to murder me in my home, that had shot me. But this was one that police, and I had already noticed this guy right here was wearing a jacket that said Midland K9 Police, And of course, I didn't have a police report though, And there is the rape and murder story. And I might just start it, but I'm not going to read the whole thing just to keep this shorter. I'll post I'll copy and paste it and post it so you can read it, and that rape and murder story, which I think is important, But this video isn't specifically about the girl being murdered at the oil show party. So that's really, on December 13, 2014, that was posted. That picture of this unidentified secret police and this story called Rape and Murder, which was about the young girl murdered at the oil show party. Okay. And timing is real important. Okay. So what I did here is I just take paragraphs from the top and I put it in the comments, and then I show pictures, whatever. And the very first one, I started just with my first 2 paragraphs. This was, just what I started this, what I read to you already. And it says, it's believed that these underground parties, these famous oil show parties, were going on in the underground homes, said to be here by multiple people. Looks like one's in my backyard based on Google Maps. Okay, and here's the rape and murder story. I copied and pasted it in there, and it's there. Posted on my Facebook right now, and I'll go ahead and also post it on YouTube when I post this video. And I'll just start reading it, but I'm not going to read the whole thing. It says, before I realized people were breaking into my Midland home. Now keep in mind, this was written 7 years ago or longer, and that says, before I realized people were breaking my Midland home, I was dating this woman who told me about these stories, which I believe to be true. She told me that these 2 older men had approached her and told her that she was going to be going to work the week of the 2010 oil show, as in prostitution. I don't believe that she felt like she had a choice, and I remember very clearly her leaving my home that night before the week started. She had a look of terror on her face that I'll never forget. I think that she knew what was going to happen that week. I heard about prostitution going on during the oil show all my life. I remember reading about a story about prostitutes flying in from all over the country to work this week. I would guess that oil companies involved in this wouldn't want it public, and I suppose there is some public police corruption. Where does this happen at? Okay, and so it's a longer story. You can see there. Like I said, I'm going to copy and paste that in there. But keep this video short. I'm not going to read that whole thing. My next paragraph here was says, 2 days after I posted it, Midland K-9 police officer Chad Simpson murdered his young wife, Sandra Simpson, and killed himself. Their 2 children was in the home when this happened. Okay. And I think they had, they tried to have children, and they were just super excited, is what I was told, to have them two babies, And this was, you can, MPD chief police officer involved in murder-suicide. It was posted December 15th, 2014, and that was the day of the alleged murder-suicide, And here, so this, there was still not a lot of information out. I mean, this was happened right after it happened. And it says murder-suicide involving a Midland police officer rattled a North Midland neighborhood Monday night. Midland Police Department Chief Robinson confirmed a male officer was found dead in his home in the 400 block of Crenshaw Drive near Lamesa Road. The woman suffering life-threatening gunshot injuries died at the hospital, Robinson said at the scene. Okay, and there was a deal there actually where they come back later and go, well, she didn't die. She died two days later at the hospital, and it was all in the news and all that. And a lot of these news stories have been deleted by our press. Our press is just something else here. It is amazing. Okay. 4 years later, okay, after the alleged murder-suicide, Empire Private Investigations identified the secret police as Midland K-9 police officer Chad Simpson. Another secret police deputy, Mike Naylor, had died 2 months earlier, and interestingly, neither of their names was on the police report. In fact, 6 of the 11 police caught on camera had their names illegally omitted from that long withheld police report. And that what I'm showing you here, actually here on the right-hand side, this was text messages from Empire Private Investigation and myself, okay, from Steven there. And he was texting me the names of the secret police, and he's collecting the $2,000 reward money. And it's showing you there Rosa Rodriguez, April Chandler, Lieutenant Tony Dickey, Greg Chatwell, Greg Nelson, Marty Barrett, he was the CSI, Chad Simpson, he's a cop that murdered his wife and killed himself. Mike Naylor, the Midland Sheriff Deputy, supposedly died in line of duty 2 months before the Simpson alleged murder-suicide. Mark Gilliam, Michael Lake, and then John Woodward, who was the Martin County Sheriff. John Woodward, first person seen arriving at my home. Of course, this video isn't about that. This is actually my reward poster. $2,000. First known secret police since Nazi Germany. Should have been an international news story, and there's never been a news story on it. Caught on video was the first 2 police officers showing up 19 minutes after I crawled out. And the reason I crawled out is because they cut my phone lines, and that was Woodward and Naylor. And then you hear the 9 that are seen inside my house. And then the next year, I got the police report. That was in 2018 when I got their names. And then the next year, 2019, that's when it was found out that it time-stamped 5 police officers at or in my home when they wasn't seen arriving like these 2 were. They had Dickey and or Woodward and Simpson. Or no, Naylor. Woodward and Naylor. And so what that means is they were under my home, and it was somebody under my home shot me. It looks like some Midland police were under my home, and they're the ones that tried to murder me in my home. And then them and their friends, their corrupt police friends, tried to cover it up, tampered with evidence, lied on police reports. And I because of that, I suspect they did murder the guy who lived here before me, and they probably murdered that little girl in the rape and murder story. That just kind of makes sense, because it's just lawlessness is what's going on. Just blatant, in-your-face lawlessness. Hey, we'll break into anybody's house, kill anybody we want, and just say whatever we want. What are you going to do? Go to the press? They're not going to report it. So I'm going to go on. There has been several theories as to what turned this Midland police officer into a cold-blooded killer, if that was what happened. Maybe Sandra saw this Facebook post, which told about police being involved in the murder of the young girl at the oil show party who didn't want to prostitute, and then she recognized her husband inside my home. If that was the case, I bet she was pissed, and possibly this led to her murder. And that just makes sense, right? Interestingly, Chad and Sandra Simpson were from my hometown. We have a lot of common mutual friends. I mean, I know people in Chad's family, that I spoke with, Patty Tramley and Annette, and so This video was the video I put, and this tells the story of the 2010 oil show party. It tells the names of other people that I believe there, where I think they have. There was plenty of evidence to stop, to make arrest, and, for this little girl being murdered. In 2013, the remains of a young girl were found outside Midland. I think maybe the holdup is it was police that did the killing, and that's why we haven't had no arrest. That's my guess, and just based on evidence, they seem to be the most obvious suspects for the murder of that little girl, right? Other people have said that Chad Simpson was a good guy, and they couldn't see him doing this, so maybe he was going to do the right thing and snitch on the other secret police who were under my home when I was ambushed and shot by somebody under my home. It's a very dangerous thing to cross the blue line. Maybe they murdered both of them and then tampered with evidence and lied on police reports like they did when they covered up the murder attempt on my life. It's a proven fact that is what happened at my home. And I have another video link here I put in there called Pictures of the Secret Police. And what had happened is they tried to disable the camera and accidentally started it. Those police never planned on getting caught, but they had started that camera, and that's what messed them up, because they were illegally withholding the police report. They were in my home, and they were staging the crime scene of this murder attempt. Of course, like I said, now we know that they came into my home, or at least some of them come into my home from under my home. And I suspect all of them knew about the $1 million underground homes put in by the Bushes, where they were having parties for, the International Oil Show. That's what I guess. They all know that I'm the innocent victim of a capital attempted murder. Obviously. I mean, they're truly the dirty of the dirty. I mean, that's all there's to it. I would say maybe some of the dirtiest cops in the history of America. A neighbor to Chad and Sandra Simpson named Beetlejuice, and I'm sure that ain't his right name, his real name, told me that when he got home that night, the police and SWAT was in his yard and on his roof. His understanding was there was a suspect on the run. And that's kind of interesting, because the official story is, Chad, he just had, what's that disease that, every veteran that was in the Iraq war has, PTSD. Oh, he had PTSD, and that made him into a killer. It was the PTSD excuse, or whatever, and he thought he was back in Iraq, so he killed his wife or something. Some crazy, nutty story, that had just dreamed up, made up off the top of their heads, But this guy here, he's telling me, he says, I lived a couple houses over the night it happened. And I was coming home from out of town, arrived at police and SWAT, I believe, in my yard and on the roof of my house. From my understanding that night, there was a suspect on the run. Okay. And so that's a whole different story right there that Beetlejuice is telling me than the official story. Oh, he had PTSD and he thought he was back in war, and he pulled out his guns and murdered his wife. That's just nutty. And that literally was, I've heard that. I know Chad, and it was actually Chad's family that told me that, Patty Tremblay. She said, and they got it from the police or the Texas Rangers. I know Chad's aunt, Patty Tremblay, and also other ones, Annette, and she told me that the Texas Rangers had said that Chad had left his camera on in his police car, so they were sure nobody had entered the house from the front door. Maybe their home was rigged with hidden underground access like mine is, and the many other homeowners documenting as reporting people in the attic. And I said, if this is so, then the killer came from a nearby neighbor's home. Okay, and this is all what if, but we don't know that. But I'm just going, well, if nobody come in the door, but they were murdered by somebody. What if that is one of the many homes that is rigged with hidden underground access? Now that'd be interesting, wouldn't it? So just like I do with all the other homes on the attic investigation videos, where all these people have documented reporting people in the attic, and I go look at their neighbors. I'm thinking, there's a tunnel coming from a neighbor's house over. It comes up the wall into the attic, and they come and go all they want. And they're still in, heating, cooling, electricity. They're basically free room and board for life, etc. Top deal. So maybe that's where it is. So that's where I looked. Here's their home. I looked up the deed history for Chad Simpson right there. Okay. And so that's where they lived, was this house on Crenshaw 403. And then I looked at the next door neighbor, and I think this guy lived at one side, And here was this guy, this Roger Willis Brown, was living on the other side, and this was a home behind him, Lavonda Green, and that's not making any accusations. I'm just sitting here doing what if, maybe, maybe that's what's happening, trying to put it all together and figured out what really happened, and we're trying to do this with corrupt police and corrupt press, and trying to get to the truth. I've identified almost 50 other homeowners reporting people in the attic since I was ambushed and shot with burglar alarms going off my attic, and that includes about a dozen addresses here in Midland and another dozen over in Odessa. That's what actually the ones on yellow, they're the ones addresses in Midland, and there's some that I forgot about. Some of them that I don't get the full address or whatever, and sometimes I get more information, but you can see them address. A lot of these are from my police scanner. Y'all heard that people in the attic video where, one lady, smelled somebody smoking, heard somebody in the attic. They're scared to death. Her and her family's waiting in the front yard for the police. And what happens is with this huge number, one, the city of Midland says nobody has reported anybody in the attic last 10 years, which is just a blatant, bold-faced lie. The press covers and hides all these crimes from the public. And so the rest of the general public doesn't know that this is going on all over the place. I figure this is just the tip of the iceberg, that these are only a few of the homes that I just happened to find out about, and that there's many, many, many more rigged like this, and maybe many, many, many more murders, And there's certain things we know for a fact. What we know for a fact is we got police that lie on police reports, tamper with evidence, and involved in these crimes. We know that for a fact. We know the press is hiding this evidence, these huge stories from the public. We know that for a fact too. 6 weeks before this alleged murder-suicide, I sent Midland Mayor and most of our city council the pictures of the secret police, and I asked them if they could confirm or deny if they worked for the Midland Police Department, but they ignored this important and valid question. The question was asked if Sandra would be alive today if they just answered this question, which should have led to the arrest of the secret police. This same message was also sent to city council members Love, Lacey, Robnett, Sparks, and I can't remember, there was another woman city council member. I couldn't remember her name when I was typing that out a minute ago. And it's a compound name, but I can't remember what it is. But anyway, here's the letter. I copied and pasted it and sent it to, most of the city council, and then at the time, Mayor Morales. Almost all of these people are gone, maybe Lacey's still a city council member, might be the only one, they've all moved on or whatever, including Morales. Now we have a new mayor and Mayor Payton, and so here we it's showing October 29th and 2014, and so keep in mind, the alleged murder-suicide happened December 14th. Okay, so 6 months before, Can you confirm if any of these people were Midland police officers? That's a valid question. I'm a citizen of Midland, taxpayer. I'm asking, and this is an elected official. That's a simple question, right? Are they police? Are they not? Because I didn't have a police report showing there any police at my house. It was being illegally withheld from me. And Morales didn't answer. Neither did any of them other city council members. But what if they had? This guy goes on to kill somebody. What if they had answered the question and is going, oh, they were in your house and their name ain't on the police report, we need to investigate, and now they're going to jail or whatever, and then all of a sudden Chad couldn't kill Sandra, right? Could have saved a life if they had just answered the question. Okay. I had also emailed the rape and murder story, which is the girl at the oil show party in 2010, to then Governor Rick Perry. Remember, he was the Trump made him the Secretary of Energy, and he mysteriously resigned 3 months after I got that video of concrete being poured behind my house behind Home Depot, where I showed Homeland Security where I believe the human trafficking murder tunnel was at. That whole story where I met DHS over there. I showed them where I believe that tunnel was at, and then 2 weeks later, the ground's dug up, concrete's being poured. I got it on video. 2 weeks after that, Congressman Conaway announces his retirement, and then 2 months later or 3 months later, the Secretary of Homeland resigns, and 6 days after that, Rick Perry resigned. The same Rick Perry, he was governor when all this happened.
Okay, same guy. That's the point I'm making. It was the same dude. And then Attorney General Greg Abbott, who's now the governor of Texas. I've contacted Greg Abbott. I got several emails where I contacted him. That was back when he was Attorney General. So he knows all about this story and all about the underground homes and all about the girl, everything. He has all this time, but the press has never asked him. There's always been a problem is the press. The timing was really odd since the alleged murder-suicide happened right after they got that story. And that's the point I'm making, is I'm going to show you this is a print screen of the email, and it shows it went to Greg Abbott and Texas Rangers and Rick Perry. Okay, there's the two up there at the top, and it shows you the timestamp and date on it. Okay, December 15, 2014, 5:53. So this happens right before they get the story of, the rape and murder of the little girl right before Chad Simpson murders his wife and kills himself. And, it's like, ain't that interesting, how all this ties together, and of course they've never been asked about it. Did they do anything? If they would have done anything, would it save lives? There's a whole bunch of questions to be asked there. As I've said before, I suspected that the oil companies that were involved in the underground oil show parties where the girl was murdered, they don't want the public to find out. And then they were leaning on people, elected officials like Perry or Abbott or whatever, you need to cover this up. It's bad for stocks. We need to pour some concrete covering up the murders, and whatever. And, looks like they murdered the guy who lived there before me too. You may be asking why you have never heard the story before, and the reason is our press has been hiding important news stories from the public. I suspected they're working with the criminals involved in the underground party murders and the many homes where the owners have reported somebody in the attic. I've contacted hundreds of news sources, hundreds of times, and I still do. Okay, this I just went over to Twitter, okay, and because you're going to see here this one's date on it. That's the complete story. Remember, that was telling you what a great video that is, because it's this starts from when I moved to Midland. This happened, that happened. And I want to show you who got tweeted on this, News West 9, CBS 7, ABC Big 2 News, the Midland Reporter Telegram, Associated Press, CNN, and Fox News. And that was just a couple days ago, okay? Right, and then here's one in February here. This was reported a DHS agent for obstruction of justice, and so that was 4 or 5 months ago. And once again, Fox News, ABC, CBS News, but I mean, don't forget, it's also the FBI, DHS, POTUS, and the president, the FLOTUS, the First Lady. Lots of people know about this. Okay? And then here's another example. There were 4 people murdered and died in my house. Aaron Packover asked me that. He told me, he said there were 4 people murdered, died in your house. And do you know their names? And that video looks at him going, who was Aaron talking about? And why hasn't law enforcement set Aaron down and found out? And we start arresting people so they quit murdering people, I mean, right? Anyway, the last one here. Rest in peace, Sandra. And may the truth come out. Your children deserve to know what really happened to their mommy and daddy. Okay. And I want to show you, this is a picture of Sandra Simpson. See, she's a murder victim. She's kind of like me. She was home minding her own business. And, now she's dead, right? And, this guy here, this is, as far as I'm concerned, he's a dirty cop, right? He was the one in my house, and his name wasn't on the police report. And he's alleged to have killed her, and so what them 2 children, someday when they grow up, what they need to know is that when this daddy killed their mommy, I had a reward offered to find out who he was, because he had been caught inside my home covering up the murder attempt on my life, right? This is Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas. Talk to you later.